Hi, thank you so much for joining me for today's process video. And today you can see I wanted to work with one of our Amelia Creates Cut files on Hey Little Magpie. So this one says cold hands, warm hearts. So I've chosen a photo of a little snowman. And when I say little, you'll see I mean very, very little that Amelia and her friend made when they were at college when it snowed last November. So I'm just masking off the top words, the cold hands words, so that I can ink blend over the warm hearts bit. So I'm just using washi tape. I've chosen a washi tape that I know isn't particularly sticky to just mask out all these little bits. And then I'm going to come in with my blending brush and blend over the warm hearts words to create like an ombre effect on those. So I'm starting with spun sugar from Distress Oxides, Tim Holtz inks with Ranger, and I'm just blending over the top half, well, top quarter probably or third of the letters. And when I've finished with that spun sugar, I'm going to come in with picked raspberry, just using the same brush. In terms of blending brushes, I know some people have one brush for each of their inks. I'm really not fussed if my inks become contaminated, I suppose, if you get one colour into the other. Normally I've rubbed off most of the ink from the brush, so it really doesn't matter to me. So I just have one brush for pinks, one brush for blues, one for greens, and so on. So you can see I went in with the same brush into the picked raspberry, which is a darker colour, and I'm just blending that across the bottoms of these letters, so about a third up the letter. So I want to keep it more or less white in the middle, and then blending the darker colour at the bottom and the paler colour at the top, and they sort of meet in the middle with a little bit of white left over, and then these top words are staying white. So that's finished. So I'm peeling off the washi tape. I am actually going to keep that to one side because I will use it on my layout, waste not, want not. So just popping that onto my glass mat there and then bringing the background card back in. So I've gone through my paper scraps again, and I pulled out the greeny blues and the blues to create some strips down the left-hand side. So my thought was at this point that this paper was going to hold the title, but I make a bit of a boo-boo. So you'll see in a minute how I deal with that. I love this. This is like a proper icy winter blue, isn't it? I love that paper. So just using a strip of that. Now, I didn't have a full 12 inches, but I just cut off what I had. And these strips are approximately 1.5 inches wide. I just go by eye, I don't measure. And then this piece is from a Celeste Gonzalo paper from Rainbow Avenue. So just got those strips. I was happy with that number, and I've also off camera cut with my Hey Little Magpie die, the large scallop die, cut some scalloped edges. Here's one of them here. I think I've got 5 of them that I just cut from scraps. Some of them are the same papers that I'm using in these strips, and some of them are different ones, and I'm just going to add those behind the photo as well. I'm not gluing anything down yet because I'm just getting an idea for how it's going to look. I am going to use a edge distresser to distress all the long edges, and I'm also going to add some texture to the background using a stencil. So this is where I messed up. That paper that I thought I was going to add the title onto, I just cut a little bit too much off. I didn't measure. I was in a rush and I was a bit careless. So I've just put that to one side, and I'm going to add the stenciling to the paper while I decide what to do. So I pulled out Speckled Egg Distress Oxide again, and just using my blue blending brush I'm going all over and blending this ink onto the background. Now I won't make you watch it all, but this stencil is brilliant. It's a Vicky Boutin one, and you can move it and line it up and get the stenciling all over the page, so you're not just stuck to that 6x8 space that you have with the stencil. So now I've pulled out my Oaky Bear Blue Inkling, and I've just splattered it over the stenciling, and then I'm just using some packaging to smush that down into the cardstock, just to make it a little bit more subtle. And when that dries, it dries much paler, and it just sort of creates an interesting mottled look over those ink blended stencil shapes, the snowflakes that I've got there. So you can see there I've distressed all the long edges, sorry I can't talk today, of those paper strips, and now I'm just matting the photo, first of all onto white cardstock just to get that nice border, and then I've pulled out one of my precious diagonal black and white striped papers. It's from the Lakeside collection from Simple Stories, and I'm just going to add that as a mat around the back of the photo. So you can see the photo here is of Amelia's hand, and in her hand is her snowman. So she messaged me from college and said that she and Freddie had built a snowman, and I was a little bit surprised because college is only about a mile away from where we live, and we really didn't have a lot of snow that day. So I asked for a photo, and this is what she sent. She's hilarious sometimes. So that's the story behind this photo. So I really wanted to get it in my album because it makes me smile every time I think of it. So here I am dealing with that cut file. It's a very long cut file. I love it, but it was causing me a bit of a headache because I cut that paper down a little bit too much. But in fact, it fits perfectly onto this other piece. So I'm just sticking down the warm hearts words onto that paper with the cold hands overlapping. And then I'm going to stick that down onto the darker paper, and that works really nicely. I think it actually looks better than if I just put it straight onto that darker paper. So a happy accident, I suppose. So I'm just building up the strips here on the left hand side. In the end, I moved them much tighter than I had originally anticipated. So they create a smaller block for the photo to sit on, but it's not a problem because by the time I brought in some washi and brought in those scalloped die cut pieces that I created, it all works out just perfectly. So. And it wouldn't have been a problem just to go through my scraps and find some more, really, would it? So not too much of an issue. Excuse me. So here are those scalloped pieces that I've die cut, and here is that washi that I'd used to mask the cut file. So first of all, I need to stick this mat down just so that I know exactly what I'm doing. So I get that stuck down, and then I can work out where the other bits are going to go behind that photo. The photo is going to butt up next to the piece of paper that's holding the cut file. So it looks like the cut file's butting up against the edge of the photo there. And then this is that first piece of washi that I'm going to add down. It's a green, but because you can see the green of the grass in the photo, it works really nicely with these blues. And then a lot of these scalloped pieces I am going to tear in half because the tear will be behind the photo, and it just extends them a bit further across the page. They're not the full 12 inches because you can't easily cut 12-inch strips on a standard big shot machine. So that's why I designed the dies this size. They're big enough that you can fit them on the cutting mat, but not too big. So just layering those scalloped edges up. I did consider pulling out my stitches stamps. Got a lot of beautiful stitching stamps now from Ellie's Studio, Hey Little Magpie, and Stampers Anonymous through Tim Holtz, but in the end I decided to use my black gel pen and just doodle. I'm really enjoying doodling stitches at the moment when I just want a running stitch in black, and sometimes it's just easy to grab a black pen and just go for it. You'll see me doing that shortly. So I'm just curling up those scallops slightly, and I am going to retrospectively fit some washi tape. I really didn't plan this too well. I was just sort of going with the flow and then realising I should have put the washi down first, but it's easy enough just to curl up those scallops and get it tucked in behind them. So this is, I think this was Maggie Holmes. I'm not too sure. I think it's Maggie Holmes washi tape. I'm really leaning into my washi tapes again. I think they create such a beautiful texture on a page, and they just look so different from strips of paper that I would encourage you to pull out your washi and have a look at it. It definitely needs some help being adhered down to the page because it's not designed to stay long term. So I just add some wet glue or some ATG behind it when you put it down. But definitely have a look at your washi and see how you can incorporate it into your pages, because we all have loads, don't we? And it just sort of sits there, or you use it like I do more often than not to just glue the string onto the back of a layout. If you take the twine round to the back and just need some tape to hold it down. But it's too pretty for that, really, isn't it? So just getting all those bits stuck down. I'm sorry, I should have probably cut some of this out. And just working my way across, trying to decide where I want all these pieces to go. So I definitely want a different colour between those two blue scallops. So I'm going to stick the first one down. Again, I don't learn, do I? And then realise that I want to add some washi underneath those scallops. So you'll see me fighting with that in a little while. Just lifting up those green scallops and then sticking this second one down, and then you'll see in a minute I bring in the rest of the washi tape, because that pale one you can barely see it, sitting against the white cardstock. I love the torn edge of that one that I've just put down. Sometimes these things, you couldn't do it if you tried, but when you've got them there available to you, it just looks great. So there we go, the photo is going to go there. So I'm just using my gel pen to just make sure that I get right underneath that picture, and I'm just drawing lines on all the paper pieces, so all the scalloped die cut pieces and all those strips that I've added. The only one that I'm not drawn on is the piece that has the title on it, the cut file. I don't know why I'm struggling with the word cut file today. So off camera at the end, I will add little dots all the way along those lines just to make it look like they've been stitched on. I'll do it off camera because it's pretty boring for you to watch, but you'll see it in the close-ups at the end. So now I just want to bring in some embellishments. I found this foam thickers sheet. I think it's a crepe paper one, I'm not quite sure, but I liked this pink banner and it says all good things, so I thought that would work nicely on the right hand side of the photo. And then there were some little stars, some black ones and also gold ones. I'm just going to scatter those above and below the photo here. Really nice to use up some of these older bits. I think it might have been Gingham Garden, this collection, I'm not sure. So then into Simple Stories, I think it's Vintage Winterwoods, and I've got the sticker book and some chipboard. So I pulled a chipboard piece out that says Let It Snow, and now I'm just looking through the sticker book just to see if there's anything I can add. So on these snowflakes I find one that says Frosty Friends, so I think that's going to work really nicely with this little snowman. So just add that next to the chipboard piece. That's not stuck down, nor is the foam piece. I'm just working out exactly what I want to add before I do stick them down. And then I find this little book plate that says Snow Day, and I add that up to the top right hand corner of the photo. It does get taken off actually. I find something else that I prefer to use. So some little wood grain hearts just dotted around the page. And this is where I decide that I want to glue these bits down before I go any further. Now this foam sticker is well and truly stuck onto the backing. I managed to get some of it off, but I give up fighting and I just add some glue to it to stick it down. There we go. So continuing through this sticker book, and this is where I realise I want to change that book plate because I find a pink tab that says Snow Day, and it's just perfect for up there. It's bringing the pink up to that corner, and so I just pull that book plate off, and it sadly rips, so is no good for a future layout. But there are so many stickers in this book, and I don't do that many snow type layouts, so I'm not too concerned. Bringing a craft tag in at the top there to add my date to, and then just adding my journaling lines here at the bottom. Just want to tell the story briefly of why Amelia's holding a mini snowman. Just having a look through the sticker book to see if there's anything else. I find another snowflake here that I'm going to tuck into the right hand side, and another one that I add to the bottom left, and then I'll come in with my journaling. I don't normally do the lines and then wait to do the journaling, but I couldn't find my pen. So I was just going through doing some other bits while I looked for it on my desk. Of course it was right in front of me. So adding the my roller date stamp to some scrap white card to add the date at the top on that craft tab, and just cutting it out with my scissors. I find that the easiest thing to do. And then I can stick that onto that craft tab using my Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. And then I decide that I want to add some gold splatters. It just felt like it needed a little bit more gold because I've got that gold star at the bottom and that's about it. So I'm covering the photo up because I've had a few mishaps recently where I've managed to get gold all over my photo. So I'm just trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about how I do things rather than just racing through and then being annoyed that I've managed to get things all over it. So there's the gold splatters, and that's the layout done. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope I've provided some inspiration. Grab your scraps, grab a cut file and get creating. Bye.